in 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 1, the Apostle Peter warns the church of false teachers, not of false prophets, which is kind of interesting. 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 1 says, "And there were also false prophets among the people, as also among you there will be false teachers who bring alongside destructive heresies." The problem today that we have in the church is with teachers, not with prophets. The reason is because we have the full revelation, we no longer have prophets in the church. And you see this over in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 8 through 10, where the Apostle Paul explains the fact that prophecy has been rendered ineffective because we no longer prophesy out from a part. We have the complete thing. So over in 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and starting with verse 8, it says, "The love never fails, but whether prophecies, they will be rendered ineffective. Whether speaking in tongues, they will cause themselves to cease. Whether knowledge, it will be rendered ineffective." Of course, here Paul is talking about spiritual gifts. Prophecy is going to be rendered ineffective because we have the whole prophecy. There's no reason to add any additional prophecy to it. So therefore, that gift isn't edifying the church anymore. Where speaking in tongues is actually looking at the fact that as a gift that was a sign to the Jews, once the Jews rejected the truth of the gospel, the fact that Christ died for their sins, was buried, and rose again on the third day, the fact that Christ is the Messiah, once they rejected that, there was no need any longer for that particular gift. So it actually causes itself to cease because the sign is no longer of any value. And then there's the gift of knowledge. Well, in the early church, they didn't have the full revelation, so they needed to understand how to actually properly manage the things related to the church. Yet now, we have the full revelation. Paul goes on and he says, "And out from a part we experientially know, and out from a part we prophesy. But when the complete thing comes," and the complete thing that he is referring to is back over in 1 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 1, which is the mystery of God. We now have the full revelation of the mystery of God. What God kept secret before the foundations of the world, he has actually revealed to us in full. And he goes on and says, "For when the complete thing comes, then that which is out from a part is rendered ineffective." Spiritual gifts are a necessity for the church. They're important because they help us as members of one body to grow and mature. But the focus today should be on gifts that edify, not gifts that lift an individual up, but gifts that actually build up the church as a whole. Over in 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 26, Paul writes, "Thus also, since you are zealous for spiritual, seek towards the edification of the assembly, in order that you all should abound." Our focus should be on building up the church, not tearing down the church, not presenting false prophecies that keep the saints' minds on the things of the world. You see, for a Christian, the focus should be on building up other Christians. That's where our focus needs to be on. There is nothing that can separate us from the love of God. Not persecution, not tribulation, not hard times, not good times, not even death. So what should our focus as a church be, especially now in a time where there is a lot of turmoil? Our focus should be on edifying the assembly, edifying other Christians, building them up, and focusing on who we are in Christ so that we manifest to the world the light that God has so graciously provided for us.